And what was the first thing you did when you got home?
First thing I done when I got home was, see, I had to buy my ticket from Atterbury, Indiana on the Greyhaven bus. Had to buy my ticket home, and at that time they only allowed a taxi to go so many miles, and I lived way out in the country, so I had to hitchhike home. And when I got home, there wasn't anybody there except my mother, and of course she greeted me. And what I did, I bought me a service station, a golf station, service station. I was going to get rich, and the first customer I had was two old country boys in a Model T Ford pulled up to the pump and bought 50 cents worth. And I knew right then I was going to get rich. I kept it 2 years and sold it. Then I started to GI school in electronics. I was going to be an electronic engineer. And in the midst of it, I surrendered a call to the ministry, so I didn't see any need.
Oh, that's right. You're a minister.
I didn't think it was worthwhile to go on, so I ended up as an electronic technician, and I worked at that for 40 years. I pastored 4 churches by vocational, and 1 for a short period of time, full time. But I enjoyed working in electronics.
You're currently a minister of a church, right?
No.
Oh, I thought
not
you.
now. No.
Okay.
I supposedly retired in '89, but since then I've served as interim for 11 churches and preached in 88 churches and never preached in before. And they just called me this morning about ministering to the hospice veterans in our area. First of all, here's a piece of the glider that I was acting co-pilot going into Holland that crash landed. And upon landing, I took my trench knife. He was wanting to know what we're done with. I cut the side out of the glider. Now, American glider is simply a canvas stretched over tubing with a wooden floor in it. It holds 13 men. And I have a list here of the men that was on it. Our lieutenant was killed a little later. And I don't have any idea. I called this one boy. He lives in Ohio, and I don't know whether he's drunk or whether he'd lost his mind or what. He didn't ever remember being with me. We used to go on dates in England. I wasn't married at that time, but he didn't remember anything, so I didn't try to trace down any of the others.
I hope I can remember as much as you, but when I'm 90 years old.
People are amazed at my memory, but I try to stay active. And
so here's some medals here.
Yeah, well, here is
Is that the purple one?
piece of the dragon tooth of a Siegfried lion. See where it's been reinforced with steel. Now, do you know what a dragon tooth is?
No, I don't.
It's a concrete about this square and about this high. And I have some pictures in my diary that I'll show you what it is after a while. And it's rows of 10 staggered. They built that all the way around the German border to keep tanks out.
Oh, okay.
That was the idea of that. And I wondered how in the world that a big old tank couldn't push over a concrete placement no higher than that. But I was over there in '94, and I found a place where the earth had washed away from the dragon tooth, and underneath is a thick layer of concrete, and this iron goes down through there, so it's almost impossible for them to push it over.
I guess back in the tanks back then couldn't actually go over that barrier.
No. Now here, I'm sure you've heard of the Berlin Wall.
Oh, wow.
I have a piece of the Berlin Wall. And you can tell your great-grandchildren about seeing a piece of the Berlin Wall now. 150 years from now.
Can we touch it?
It's just a small piece.
Wow. So that's again, it's concrete.
Yeah. A lot of people lost their lives during the time when it was up.
You're holding a piece of history there, Alex.
Wow.
As I say, this is by amateur artist. His name is Gilles Barrie. And this is a picture of a British glider. And I thought he done a pretty
Did they
good job.
tend to, did you say they tended to do better or worse than the American gliders?
No, they were destructible. They had 3 landing wheels, had one on either side and had one in the nose, and the men sat in there facing each other like that, and on landing, the wheel in the nose would come up through the floor and go back through and cut the men's legs off.
Oh,
So it wasn't very good. And we had more casualties with the British than we did with the American. This is the first village that was taken in France, Saint Mary Galice. One of the paratroopers, John Steele, his parachute hung on the steeple of that church. When I was over there in '94, they've got a dummy hanging up there now. The only difference was John Steele was facing the church, and the Germans thought he was dead hanging up there, so they let him hang up there. But the dummy now is looking out over the churchyard.
huh.
And arm sleeves,
Oh, yeah.
on TV,
Yeah.
marching.
Those are authentic. I mean, you brought those back.
That's a real McCoy. That.
Wow.
Wow.
This is a microphone for a German fighter plane.
Wow.
He fastened that some way to his throat like that. I don't know how, but
Wow.
and
So you're saying that the voice was read through his throat somehow?
yeah, I reckon the vibration of his throat.
Vibration?
Somehow, I don't know.
Wow.
Anyway, that's what.
That's the kind of stuff I find interesting.
And while we're this close, this has nothing to do with the war whatsoever, but I'm proud of it. They presented me a
A key to the city?
key to the city,
Oh, that's neat. Is that Sweetwater?
Sweetwater.
Wow, that's neat.
I haven't found
That's an honor.
haven't found anything that would fit, but I've got it.
He made 2.
Let's see. Let's start over here this side now. Let's make a sweet. This is of a German Jeep, and the curiosity that got me is only on one side. It's not like our flag. It's just on one side. This was our caption, the 325. This is the state capital here, and each one of these things represents something. But this was our motto: "Let's go." Go
What about
we
that?
did. We moved every 6 weeks.
And that says 325th
Yeah.
Glider
Let me move it up.
Infantry.
No.
That's neat.
This is the Rangers had to climb that.
Wow.
See that bunker up there? I've been in it. It's 100 feet from the water up to that bunker. You see those pits there?
Uh-huh.
That's made by the battleship Texas. Battleship Texas was our escort and the convoys that went across. And
Wow.
now this, I'm very proud of that. I was made a Chevalier of the Merit of Honor by the President of France. And
Wow.
was
That's what I was
awarded,
talking about.
this award goes with that. I never saw it before. Just myself and one other fellow. We had to go to Atlanta to pick it
Wow.
up. And that's a Chevalier, a Merit of Honor award. And it's an association that was started by Napoleon in 1802. And I get this magazine every month. In this particular one, they had me to write up an article, and it's published in it.
What's the name of the publication?
It's the American Society of the French Legion of Honor.
Oh. Alex, there's a lot of history in this room.
I know.
So, what, I'm trying to inspire Alex to keep, he's been through Cub Scouts, and I'm trying to, motivate him to become an Eagle Scout. Do you have any words of motivation for him to?
Sure. What if they let me join? I like Boy
You could
Scouts.
be a scoutmaster.
I wore my Boy Scout shirt before.
I seen that a while ago. Here's something I'm very proud of. They transferred me out of the 82nd into the 17th Airborne to come home, and my unit went on to Berlin as the Guard of Honor. And so there were 7 of my awards that was never put on my discharge. And I've been working ever since then trying to get them, and I eventually got them all about 2 months ago, except one Purple Heart, and that's the crash landing in Holland when I was wounded. And they refused to give it to me and said perhaps it was an accident and it wasn't due to enemy action, even though they've already awarded it to me and I've got it, but they won't put it on my discharge.
Wow.
And I've wrote the Congress, Duncan, Alexander, even the president, I wrote him. You name it, I've written. But I got a few of my awards in 1889 by writing the division commander. And he was a paratrooper. And beginning with the story of it, the paratroopers kind of looked down their nose at the glidermen. We only had old Army shoes and leggings. We didn't have jump boots. And so I wrote him a letter and I said, General, I've earned these awards and I'd love for you to help me get them. So this is his letter back. And here's what he had to say. And as I said, he was a paratrooper. He said, by the way, troopers, today realize that the glider soldiers of the division in World War II had a very tough mission. Indeed, any paratrooper worth his salt would admit he would rather jump from an aircraft than face the uncertainty of a glider flight to the battle area. And I'm so proud of that.
Oh, yeah.
I framed that.
I mean, didn't they have backup? Did paratroopers have backup parachutes?
Oh, yeah.
They had a parachute and a backup parachute, and you had to crash a perfectly good airplane.
There's a piece of the camouflage chute right there. And then they had a little flight emergency chute. In case that didn't open, they could pull the other one. They had 2 chutes. Between battles, I started writing poetry. And I still enjoy writing. And one time I had over 100 on the network. I don't know whether it's still on there or not. But do you remember when the president's son and his wife and their sister went down that little plane, was drowned? When John Jr. and his wife...
Oh, JFK Jr.?
Yeah. And I wrote this one.
Do you have a copy of it that we could get sometime so I can include it? Or I think I can see it. Let me see if I can just get it here. The Legion Wars.
Yeah, I write them on current events. I write them on religion, everyday events, love poems, and all kinds of poems. Mm-hmm. Here's a close-up. That's American glider. CG4 helped. That's what I was acting co-pilot. The reason I was acting co-pilot, the pilots they trained here in the States and they shipped them over there for the invasion of Holland. Bad weather set in and they were forced down in England and they didn't make it to Holland for the invasion. So they took some of us and trained us a little to act as a co-pilot going into Holland.
But before I forget, all of that whole wall is poetry. It says
awards,
poetry awards, National
blue,
Library of Poetry.
All the blue is 3% of the best. I belong to this organization here, the International Society of Poets, and I've got all the books over there that was published. They're published in the books. The blue is 3%, and the red is 2% of the best that's sent in.
Wow.
I bet you here's something you never seen before. A Statue of Liberty made up of men standing.
Wow.
It was 18,000 base on that base. Can you imagine how much patience it took to get those men together in that form?
How many men?
I believe it's 18. Yeah, 18,000 men.
18,000 men.
Was on that base. And it tells how many men it took for the arm or foot or leg or whatever. I visited the Statue of Liberty, but today that I went there, the elevator was out. They've got an elevator. Have you ever been there? Have an elevator to lift them up there. But that particular day, the elevator was out of order, and we had to climb the steps. I think it's 253, so I walked the steps up there and looked at her eyes. It doesn't have eyes, it's got an eye hole there.
We need to take a trip to New York, don't we, Alex?
Mm-hmm.
It's taken about 5 minutes after we landed. We hit so hard that I was a company radio man and broke the antenna off the radio, and I was down on my knees taking the antenna off a walkie-talkie and attaching it to the Field 300. And this photographer come along and took my picture while I was down on my knees there.
Wow.
And there's 2 German fighter planes come over strafing about that time. And
Where was that?
that was in France, Normandy.
Wow.
This book is on the weapons that was used in the war. That's what I carried there. And
Wow.
I have an article,
There you
a
are.
picture, the author and that.
Can I see the front of that again?
Sure.
I'm gonna get
You're welcome to anything that you want there.
I'm gonna get a picture of the front so people,
okay.
if they want to look it up, they can get it. This is something they can get a copy of here, right? Oh yeah, this is infantry weapons of combat. That is neat. That would be a good book to read, Alex.
This is by this French artist over here, Brie.
That did the glider.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's got my picture. He's got an article in there, and he's written that called "A Bridge in Normandy"
Oh, that's neat.
by Gilles Brie. You want?
Hold this, Alex.
Now, that's in English.
Oops, I'm sorry.
What you
Maybe
need?
you want to just lay that one down. I'm afraid I'm going to drop it.
Trench knife.
Oh, there it is.
Well, that's one of the trench knives.
Also, let me get a look at that, but the back of that without the light. Looking at it funny. So we got the M1 rifle, M1 carbine. Neat.
He's written that book in English. He's written this and then French. And there's correspondence from him. His
Oh, that's
writing.
neat. And how old is he?
I don't know, really. There's my last foxhole at the end of the war. I was ready to come home.
Wow.
And this is in French. I can understand part of it. Parlez-vous français? But I don't know. I'm going to have to get somebody to interpret for me.
What did you say about the gliders?
That's a complete history.
I don't. But what did you say about the?
Only used them from 42 through 47.
Oh, okay. But did you say we found out about them from the Germans?
Yeah.
So the design came that we had.
They were successful with them on Island of Creek. And the United States picked up the idea. The idea is that we, the ones in the glider, trained together, and if they survived the landing, they were ready to fight. The paratroopers were strung out over a long area, parachuting out. So the idea was to train even the artillery, small artillery piece, and the crew that worked together. On landing, they could raise the front of it up and roll it out and go to work. Here's my diary.
Oh,
I made
wow.
it into book form.
Now, is there a copy of this somewhere on the internet?
Nope.
Oh, that needs to be scanned and copied
See, I've got a
too.
few poems in here. I've got a little of my background, where I was born and so forth and so on. And then I've got pictures. This is in Naples. This boy got killed in Normandy doing the job that I usually did. That particular day they sent me up to the battalion. It's really interesting. This if you want to find anything out about my outfit, that's on the internet.
Oh, okay.
That whole book.
Let me see the
I
fake
speak.
cover of it.
I speak at the Loudon High School, and those kids put this together and give to me. And some of them wrote letters in their appreciation, how much they enjoyed it, and so forth and so on. I'm real proud of that. This is a 6.5 hour interview with the History Department of the University of Tennessee. They're going to translate it and put it on the internet for students studying World War II. This is by Irishman. John McCann, he's written an article in there. He used one of my poems as an introduction to his book. I was over there 3 years ago. I was invited to come back over there and unveil a monument that's put up in our honor for our stay there. And I attended it and also his book signing. And he used one of my little old poems as introduction. And he's got an article in here and got my picture also. There's a little poem. Tonight I sat upon a bunk in a foreign land. I see my buddies gathered there, linked together in one band. We have many lonely hours we have to spend some way. Oft times we laugh and joke and speak of the coming day when we'll be at home around the family's band. It's then we'll speak of our time in a foreign land. And
Wow.